Have you ever been told family is everything and quietly wondered why it doesn't feel that way for you? Most people talk about sibling bonds, parental love, or that natural closeness with relatives. But not everyone experiences family that way. If that sounds familiar, you might relate to something called being afamilial, having little to no emotional connection to your family. It doesn't mean you hate your family or that you're incapable of love, but the automatic emotional pull most people feel towards relatives doesn't come as naturally to you. People might assume that means you're cold, distant, or damaged, but being afamilial isn't about resentment or rebellion. So let's talk about what being afamilial actually means and why feeling differently about family doesn't make you broken. And before we get into it, a quick note. YouTube doesn't always promote mental health videos as strongly as trending topics. The algorithm tends to push out videos that get fast views, but mental health is something people usually search for when they're struggling. And by then, the window to go viral has already closed. That means a lot of people who need this content miss out. So if you'd like to support us, even leaving a quick comment like psych to go really helps the algorithm know this content matters. And we promise in return to keep making meaningful videos and to stay involved by replying to as many of your comments as we can. Now, back to the video. What afamilial actually means. The word afamilial literally means without family connection. In psychology, it describes people who don't feel a natural sense of belonging, obligation, or attachment toward their family. That might sound extreme, but it can show up in subtle ways. You don't feel emotionally close to your parents or siblings, even if you talk often. Or family gatherings feel performative, like playing a role rather than being yourself. You feel more at home with friends, mentors, or chosen family than with relatives. You don't miss your family much when you're apart, and you might even feel relief. Some afamilial people cut off contact completely. Others maintain relationships out of duty, not desire. But the core experience is the same: emotional detachment from your family unit. How it happens. Being afamilial doesn't always come from trauma or neglect, though sometimes it does. More often, it's shaped by years of subtle disconnection, mismatched needs, or emotional patterns that quietly widen the gap between you and the people who raised you. Here's how that happens. 1. Chronic misattunement. You may have grown up in a home where your emotional language didn't quite translate, where your sensitivity was met with cold logic, or your need for affection was met with tough love. And over time, it may have made you stop expecting or even wanting an emotional connection with your family, seeking connections elsewhere or learning to satisfy your emotional needs on your own instead. 2. Closed communication. Growing up in a family that avoids emotional conversations shapes how connected you feel. Research shows that when feelings aren't named or expressed, it can lead to emotional dysregulation in others. Over time, you learn to mute your emotions too, until distance becomes your default way of staying safe and composed. 3. Differing values and identity. For some, being afamilial emerges later in life. Maybe your beliefs, identity, or boundaries clash with your family's worldview. You still care, but the emotional bridge feels too fragile to cross without losing yourself. So, what does research show? At the moment, afamilial isn't a widely published psychological diagnosis. It's more of a community term, often discussed in ASPEC, asexual and aromantic spectrum spaces, to describe people who don't feel automatic family attachment. Closest related concepts in psychology include attachment theory, how early bonds and caregivers shape closeness later on, anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure in situations where most people do, and defensive detachment, when someone distances from family bonds as a protective mechanism, often after trauma or neglect. There are also case studies of people with conditions like antisocial personality disorder who report little to no familial bonding. But just because you don't feel close to your family does not mean you have a disorder. Not feeling familial pull can come from many places: genetics, personality differences, cultural background, or simply how you developed over time. For some, it may even be a natural variation of identity, just like in the A-spec community. There are a lot of myths about being afamilial, and most of them miss the point. Myth 1, you're broken if you don't feel close to your family. Not true. Research shows that the human need for connection doesn't begin and end with blood. The Kai longitudinal study found that young adults who lacked supportive family ties often formed deep, resilient friendships and chosen families instead. And those bonds were just as protective, sometimes more so. In reality, many afamilial people are highly capable of love and intimacy. Their emotional distance from family is often a form of self-protection, not an absence of feeling. Psychologists Fraley and Shaver call this defensive detachment, the brain's way of shielding itself from pain by lowering emotional expectations where safety was uncertain. Other studies even connect the afamilial experience to the asexual and aromantic spectrum, where people describe diverse ways of feeling or not feeling different kinds of attraction, including afamilial love. It's not coldness. It's simply a different configuration of connection. Yes, there are rare cases where detachment stems from antisocial traits, but for most, being afamilial isn't about lacking empathy. It's about redefining belonging. It's saying, I can love deeply, but I get to choose where that love feels safe to land. So, can being afamilial make you unloving? No, not at all. You can love deeply and still choose distance. You can care without constant closeness. You can build connection that feels earned, not expected. Talking about this matters because it breaks the silence around guilt. That old echo whispering, you're ungrateful, or you'll regret this one day. But guilt isn't always a moral compass. Sometimes it's just conditioning, society telling us who we should be and what we should want. Healing doesn't always mean going back. Sometimes it means learning that freedom is a kind of love too. What does family mean to you? The one you were born into or the one you built? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Psychology Made Practical. Thanks for watching Psych2Go.